Hey everyone, welcome to the first ever Pixel Geek Community Spotlight. I'm probably going to mess up or flub somewhere here and there because this is the first time. But the whole point of these community spotlights is to highlight the humans behind the pixels, behind every project, because you see websites, you see no code projects out there, but it's like, that's cool. But what did it take to create those? What did it take to actually launch those or even find the clients or even just do the things? And our first community spotlight, I want to introduce Naya. And am I getting that name right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
No.
Awesome. Well, welcome and thank you so much for taking the time to show, not show yourself off. See, introduce yourself to the community. Yes. Hi.
Hi. So I'm Naya. I've been in the no code space before. It was actually called no code.
Hmm.
So my background is in IT. I have over 10 years of IT experience in cloud infrastructure, IT management, and more recently, past couple years in information security. I got involved in more of like the no code and community space when I started my current business, Frauvies, which is something I actually do as like a second job, but I can go more into that later.
Oh, okay. Well, that already a huge resume, a big experience. Lots of experience. Big. Jeez. But but yeah, it's you're saying that you've been in the no code space before it was called no code. And to me, I guess the earliest no code would be for me Flash, Macromedia Flash, when you can create animations on the internet without coding. It was just straight on the canvas, and it was a beautiful exploration. It was like the 80s big hair rock band days of the internet. That's what I think of no code if I looked in the past. What to you is no code, and when did you start to get into it?
Yeah, so definitely not that far back. And actually, it was really funny. I think I was listening to one of your, I think you did a recent episode. I think you said in like 95 is when you were like designing websites. I was very little at that time. So I can't go that far back, but I can go as far back as Dreamweaver. So I still consider Dreamweaver to be a no code tool in the like early days. Also, if this, then that, and Zapier, I was probably both of their first customers, if that. I,
Really?
yeah, I actually used to use Zapier and if this, then that to do like automation of like tickets back when I was like sort of doing early on help desk work. And then later, I kind of got into the creative technology space. And then I thought it was like really cool to automate everything in my apartment and to like send me the like weather. And like I had all these like interactives that were in my house. And this was all built with no code tools.
You
Well, it's
love
now
automation.
called no code tools.
That's cool that you like automation. Have you heard of Aaron, who streams uh automate all the things?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah. You two would get along and talk about automating stuff. I mean, so I guess when it comes to automation and then making information fly left and right, I'm thinking, are you a fan of like Jarvis or like like Iron Man, how everything's all automated and like having that type of future?
Yeah, yeah. So, so I should also give this background as well. So, I actually live in Romania right now.
Oh,
This background here is it's virtual, but it's a like image of my actual balcony. And I'm actually from New York City. And back when I lived in New York and I got my first apartment, like my apartment was so teched out, like literally every bit of it. And like one of my first projects were like really cool. I built a neon sign, and it spelled nerd alert. And basically, I had a sensor so that when I opened up my door, or if someone passed by it and like waved at it, it would like flash nerd alert over and over.
that's so cool.
Yeah, so like that was like one of my like first like cool projects, and then like from there I just started to like build all these other different things. And then I also used to work for a company that used to do like creative interactive designs and like installations. And so working at that company also gave me some ideas that I can like take home and create more projects there. So
It seems like you love to tinker, and it makes sense that you're in the IT world and the no code world. So let's step back and learn, where did that spark happen? Like kids are naturally creative and naturally curious. Um, what what kept you curious to get into the IT and then the no code space?
yeah, so actually it's really funny because I've been rethinking the way I actually tell my story. So I normally tell my story that a lot of the men in my life and family usually worked in tech, and they inspired me to like basically like once they saw that like it was something that made me happy and like I enjoyed it and I was like very interested in like coding at a very young age, and also building. What I also forgot is that I went to schools that also had like computer and IT programs in elementary and in middle school. And it's something that I totally forget like when I tell my story. But one of my elementary school teachers, I just like completely forgot about this part of my life, but like she wanted us all to like learn about technology earlier, early in life. And we actually built, towers in like fourth and fifth grade. Like,
What do you
yeah,
mean?
we built computers like from scratch.
Oh, PC
Yeah,
towers.
yeah, sorry, PC
Okay, I
tower.
was thinking building blocks, like, okay, wooden blocks, yes, yeah, we can
Sorry,
do that.
sorry.
But actually, you're building actual custom PCs.
Yes, yes. So like what she had us do is that she had us like, so like we had PCs and we had to like break them down and then rebuild them. And this was in like fourth and fifth grade.
See, that's such a great skill to teach early on. I remember when I was like in my teenage years and I'm building a custom PC, and my sister walks in and she's like, how do you know what to do? And I'm like, look, I mean, they only fit in one spot. It's like putting a triangle wooden block into the triangle hole, and it can't go anywhere else. But like a lot of people who think that it's hard to do, it's actually quite easy, that even elementary school children can do. So that's really awesome that your school promotes that.
Yeah, yeah, and too, like right before Google search came out, there was like Ask Jeeves, and like
Yeah.
I also forgot this part too. Like this same teacher, like she taught us how to Google, like she taught us like how to research. Yeah, and like
That is the best teacher.
right, yeah, and excuse me, like I didn't like there's so much about my early life that I guess I maybe didn't value it until recently when I had to like revisit my actual journey. But I was talking to like one of my friends who also works in tech, and he was saying like, how do you research stuff so quickly, and like how do you just naturally know like what keywords to search? And I said by just like googling, and then he like watched like me and like how I search, like if it's a project that I want to work on or maybe a problem that I'm having. And he's like, well, where'd you learn how to do that? And I was like, I don't know, I just do it. But I guess the like real truth is, is that I had, people in my life that had taught me these skills early on. So for me, it's something that's like supernatural. And I guess not until recently have I realized it's not something that everyone has had the opportunity of having growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's super awesome. You should find that teacher if you haven't already
Oh,
and say thank you.
yeah.
I mean, opening up a PC and saying, put it back together, and hey, here's how you search for things on the internet. Those two things are basically the fundamentals of the internet, or of computers and information technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, more. Yeah, that should be a course. That should be a course, at least for college students. How to Google. It'll seem weird and crazy, but you ask people, nowadays, like, how do you find stuff on the internet? They're gonna be like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true.
yeah. But so fast forwarding your career, getting into IT, and then your bio says that you started companies on your own, and yeah, so I want to know like what brought you to Romania, and also like what are these companies that you created, and why did you create them?
Yeah, so I actually built my first company in high school, and it was like fixing cell phones and like computers and like laptops, and that had simply started because at the time I had a boyfriend at the time, and he had asked me to like fix his phone because I knew how to like research stuff, and I was like, okay, and I just like went on like on Google and eBay and like found the parts and I fixed it, and then and then like I guess his whole like basketball friends all found out that I knew how to fix his phone, and that kind of got around, and then it just turned out that I was like the person that folks started asking to like fix their phones, and then I just turned that into a business. And during my first year of college, I dropped out later, but during my first year of college I then started going around to real estate offices in Harlem and in New York City, and like saying like, hey, like, do you have anyone to like work on your network and to like help you manage like your software? And I just started like doing consulting for real estate businesses. So that was like my first business, and I made so many really bad mistakes, like really, really bad. Like I was probably a really bad business person, but again, I was like, a teenager. But that really helped me to understand. Like later, I knew what not to do. Like, pretty much I just took on, especially like when it came to web design, I took on like any clients that wanted to pay me more than $600. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And just like some of these folks were like not great people. And I learned a lot from that. And that helped me to like then understand what to do when it came to building my next business. So like that was really my start when it came to like entrepreneurship. And over the years since then, I did like consulting, but in really 2018 is when I had made the jump off the ship and I had left my job at the time. I originally had left to take some mental health time, and I did the whole, like, I don't like to call it finding yourself, but everyone calls it that. Like, basically, I went to Europe and just like a one-way ticket, and I originally just planned to stay in Romania for like a couple weeks, and I realized like, wait, like Naya, like you have the money, like why don't you just like do a solo trip the way you've been wanting to do? So then I ended up spending 3 months in Europe, and I literally just like went from Romania to Portugal. I just like stopped in every country within Europe, and just like explored and like really tried to understand like what I wanted to do next. By this time, I was already running Frau V's, but I said like I think I can do it like full time, and if not, I can always do like anything related to IT. At the time, I was working
Mhm.
on a startup, so I figured like maybe the income from these two would help me to be able to like build a basic income. And so I just like went for it. So I went back home to New York. I like sold all my stuff and then came back here to Europe and have been in Romania ever since. It's like the very long version. Sorry, but yeah.
Whoa, no, it's crazy, and you've glossed over one part for mental health, and I think that's very very important for everyone to learn from. And would you be willing to tell us like this career, you've been literally almost everywhere, and you're very bright and open-minded to learn all these things from the beginning, but careers aren't, you know, smooth. There's never a smooth career in anyone's life. And so I'm just wondering, would you be willing to tell us one of the lowest parts of that path to get to where you are today, and tell us how you got out of that part of your life and what you've learned from it? And if you don't want to, it's totally fine. But I think these are real learning lessons, lessons that our whole community can um, gain knowledge from.
Yeah, so I'm laughing because the question is which one. So I've had many. I've had many. So I've had two sides to my childhood growing up. And one was a very bad side. I don't like to talk about this too much because I feel like people already have a bad view of like Harlem and uptown Manhattan. But I definitely did go through quite some traumatic stuff growing up. And so that was like one half of my life. But then I think the reason why I've been able to flourish as an adult is because I did have this balance. So even though there were a lot of bad things that happened, I also had lots of good things that happened. And like as a kid, I also like got to travel and like explore, and like I had a good set of folks in my life that showed me like, listen, you don't have to go down this path. You can go down this path if you just like do the right thing and be a good person, and etc. And so it was really that influence that kind of like, basically I saw what I didn't want, and then I saw what I could achieve, and I just went for that. So that was probably like, part one of like my life, in like hardships, because at the same time I was also working on my business, as I mentioned, in high school. So that was all going on like during the same time. Honestly, what led me to starting my own business now is, so I started my career on Wall Street, and then I worked for other corporate companies. And I hate wearing skirts. I hate like, the whole like office politics. And so, I had a friend at one of my jobs who like, why don't you go work at a startup? Like they'll pay you way more money, and you'll have a better experience, and it's more for young people. No, what they didn't tell me was that you would experience different stuff at startups as a Black person. So I was like always the only Black person in the office, the only Black woman in the office. So while I might have been getting paid a lot of money, especially for someone my age, I did go through, the hardships of like being around folks who weren't used to being around a Black person in the office, and
Yeah.
went through various amounts of discrimination. And just really, I just got tired of it. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, either I can sit here at this startup and be unhappy and make a lot of money and work for someone else's dream and go home and still be unhappy, or I can work for my own dream and still struggle probably, but also have the opportunity to also make it. And I can also design my own life versus like, for me, I just found that like I would probably be more happier working towards my own dream, my own life, versus like working at a company with people that probably don't like me, or maybe they're uncomfortable with with having a manager who's Black. Like that's one of the things that I'd also went through. So at least now, like I can choose who I want to
Yeah.
work with, which makes a huge difference. And I just feel a lot more happier. And I mentioned to you before the call, that I had this thing of like everything's human first. So the project I was working on last year is like a human first technology. I only work with people who have a human first mindset. And I just
Yeah.
find that that's been a much better experience. Financially, things were really hard last year. Like if you've seen any of my tweets, you like might have seen that like I didn't even have soap to like wash. I didn't have hot water. It was like things got really, really bad last year.
No.
Yeah, like things got really bad, but like it was just like mentally though, I knew that there might be times in my entrepreneur journey that things might get really hard. And so I just always had the mindset that like just to push through it, because there's going to be, a light at the end of the tunnel, and just to keep going. And I'm so glad that I did, and that I didn't give up, because things are much better now, a whole, year, ahead. So
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. There's a there's a lot to unpack there. And I guess the next question would be like, how, now that the whole now that 2020, it's everything's just flipped upside down, sideways, and in every way. How do you feel like looking from the outside in about the country? So you're in Romania, and is your family still in the United States?
yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, I'll just I'll leave it as that. Yes,
Yeah.
my family is still in the States. It's funny because like people think that it like what's going on does not affect me, but it does affect me. I don't want to give too much detail
Yeah.
here. I'll get to like yeah, I'll just leave that. But like, a lot of things that we see going on, like my family has been affected throughout the years. I've personally been affected, growing up in Harlem, and like a lot of things that the world is just now seeing on video and online. I've been seeing growing up.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, it's like it kind of makes me upset, like when I go on Instagram and I have to like relive, seeing some of this stuff. It's like, like for me, I've watched a lot of this happen, and to me, it's like really sad that the world is like only now recognizing because things are on video that, oh, this is actually happening. It's like, well, yeah, we've been telling you for years that this has been happening to us. Why is it you're only now like believing us because there's so much like video? So yeah, I mean, that's difficult. I think like on the bright side though, is that like, especially in the workplace now, there's more conversation around what's the Black experience, which, you know, 3 years ago or 2 years ago when I left my job, I would have never imagined that, like, you know, folks on Twitter, VC folks would be talking about what's the Black experience in the workplace and like how can we make improvements. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you know, like for me, it might not be as intense as if I was in,
Yeah.
you know, New York City. Same thing with the virus. I've had many folks that I know that have passed. Here in Romania, it hasn't been. We've had high numbers, but not as many deaths. I've been staying in my house. I love staying home anyway. So
Same.
this was like this was
We've
like
been training for this.
yeah, I've been training for this. It's like literally like it was no different for me. Only difference is that like now I sometimes I'm paranoid about like going out like and sitting in restaurants. But other than that, like yeah, it's like nothing's changed in my life other than the folks around me are being affected and folks in my life.
That's crazy, crazy. Uh, it's what I hear is a lot of strength in you, and if anything, if I were to clip anything in this stream, it's the fact that you've made your own path in life thanks to the spark from your teacher, but how awesome of the support you have from your friends and family back at home to let you keep going on this unproven path in your family. Like, has anyone else in your family traveled to Europe, created their own startup, and just did what you've done? Probably not.
Well, okay, so it's funny. I cannot say that I actually really got support. To be completely honest,
Oh,
everyone was so against it. Like everyone in my family, everyone in my life was like, don't go to Romania, don't go to Europe. Like you're like, you know, you're all alone, you're like by yourself. Like also exactly what you said, like no one that I know like close to me has ever started their own business or moved out of New York State. So because of that, like just many like early on, many of the folks in my life were just totally against it. I didn't have any support. Like every phone call was like, so are you coming back home yet? Are you coming back home yet? Like what's going on? And then last year when I had like, you know, the little rough patch, like it gave everyone, I guess, a reason to say like, see, you should come back home. And so I can't actually say that I got support. However, now that my businesses are taking off, everyone that had doubted me, and I understand now, it's not that everyone was doubting me because they thought that I couldn't do it. It was more of like they haven't seen someone, especially young Black female, that has done exactly what I'm doing. So to them, it like they didn't see any way that this can happen, and like you know that it would work out.
yeah.
So now that it's been quite some time and things are working out, like the same folks are coming back and they're like, we cannot believe you did this. Like, we cannot believe that you've been in Romania this whole time. Like, we can't believe that you're still going with your businesses. Like, so it's really good because I also see that I'm inspiring like some of the folks that I grew up with, especially from high school, because folks know me from high school. I was like crazy and wild. And so everyone thought that I was going to be this like dropout, but like folks who know me from
Well, you
those days,
kind of did drop out
well,
from college, like you
well,
said.
from college, not high
Yeah.
school. I graduated high school. I graduated high
You
school.
you you wanted to drop out on your own terms, not when they said you're gonna
Right,
drop out. Yeah.
right. And
You
so like
proved them wrong. Yeah, I'll drop out when I want to.
right, exactly. So what is really cool is that like especially folks from high school and folks that have known me like over the years have like wrote me on like Instagram. I talk about my whole life there. And so folks always write me like, wow, like we cannot believe like you went through this craziness last year and this year like things are like going really well. Like we're happy for you. Like also folks that I've known from high school and like from college. And I missed this part, but I actually went to a tech boot camp when I was 19.
Nice.
And so folks from there too had like out of nowhere like sent me like $200, like, hey, this is for your business, like if this helps, however, like we want to support you. So
That's
that's
awesome.
been something that's really cool, that it wasn't expected, but I'm definitely glad that it's been happening now.
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome. Well, yeah, I don't want to take up any more of your time. This is such a been an honor to meet you and learn from your story. If you can give a piece of advice to young women of color who are trying to make it in this world, you know, what learning what you've learned, learning from what you've gone through to get where you are, what would you tell them?
so I'm gonna okay, even though I have a mixed background, I will speak for into especially Black women, because I think that, you know, we are the folks who are overlooked, and we're not appreciated. And a lot of times, especially in the households or folks around us, we're not always encouraged. So what I would tell any, especially Black woman, person of color, is to, like, if you have a dream, just go for it. Don't let the voices of others put you down, and like always just try to remember like what your path is and what you want it to be, and just strive for it. Also, like, don't be afraid to talk with others who, you know, have a different background. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to say when you're struggling, because you just never know like who's going to be out there that can like help you out, whether this is like in your IT career, whether this is your no code career. Just be open and just do what it takes to get to where you want to be.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much. Where can people find more information about you? If you want to tell us your social links or your website, yeah, this is the time.
Yeah. So I also want to plug something else if you don't
Go for
mind.
it. This is
Okay,
you.
cool. Cool, thank you. So you can find me everywhere, pretty much everywhere, as Boss Naya Moss. It's an inside joke, the whole like I want to be the Black Bill Gates, so that's where that came from. And so yeah, find me everywhere as Boss Naya Moss. Website is nayamoss.com, Nayamoss. And I want to plug that next month, October, I am hosting and having a low code hackathon. So it is for Frau Wies, which is the Black woman in tech company and community. And we are encouraging all folks to be a part of it. And the theme of it is built for us, built for the community. So we're encouraging folks to build a product, service, software, for Black businesses or for the empowerment of the Black community. And the requirement is to use at least one no code tool. And this is just to get the community interested in no code and to see how it can help us move forward in this building.
Nice, nice. Please post more information about that on the chat board, and maybe we can talk if there's a way that I can help support that event as well. I mean, uh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
yeah, not a problem. Thank you so much for being part of the first Pixel Geek Community Spotlight. You're awesome. I hope you have a wonderful day, and good luck with all of your not all of your well, good luck with all of your dreams. Keep going, and thank you. I can't say enough. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. It's been so great to finally meet you after like watching you on YouTube for so long. So
Oh,
it's pretty great.
awesome. Well, I'm glad to help. All right. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.